Welcome to the third dimension. 2 weeks into a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, relief is giving way to grim acknowledgements of the truth's intricacies and of the need for continued outside intervention to keep it alive, let alone to make further progress. For the people in Gaza, this ceasefire is not just a diplomatic breakthrough, but a moment of survival, a pause that could mean the difference between life and death as aid convoys started to move into the enclave. But even as the ceasefire takes shape, the memory of Gaza's human toll refuses to fade. The faces of children, the voices of journalists, and the courage of activists still haunt the world's conscience. And if the ceasefire to be turning point the world's hopes for, it will need more than signatures and speeches. Many fear the agreement could dissolve as soon as political winds shift or a single provocation tips the scales again. To discuss this topic joins me from Ramallah Dimitri Diliani. Mr. Diliani is a member of Fatah Movement Revolutionary Council and the spokesperson of Fatah Reformist Democratic Faction. Mr. Diliani, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Now, if we could start from the ceasefire itself, for all its promise, this is not Gaza's first ceasefire, nor history warns will it be its last. Each single pause has left Gaza more shattered than before. The question is, what is so different about this ceasefire?
The difference in this time is that the interest of the President of the United States of America, who will be having the midterm elections in about 13 months, happened to have his interests, his party's interests, to align with the ceasefire. And of course, as victims of the genocide, the Palestinian people have interest in ceasefire. So for the first time, our interests do align. That keeps the government of the genocidal state of Israel out of this loop, because its leaders' personal and party interests do not align with the ceasefire. Actually, on the contrary, they collide with the genocide and the continuation. They collide with the ceasefire because they thrive on the genocide, on the war, on the blood, on the starvation of children.
Yeah.
So because the White House has this alignment of interest with the ceasefire, that's why I believe that a large number of the U.S. administration, high-level administration, are in the region, state of Israel today.
Yeah.
And to make sure, they are actually babysitting Netanyahu to make sure that he doesn't go off tangent and work towards his interest at the expense of Trump's interests. That's why they are here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we as Palestinian people, we appreciate the ceasefire. We appreciate that the number of deaths has fallen dramatically. Also, we appreciate that military component of the genocide has stopped, and we hope for the whole genocide to stop through the lifting of the siege on Gaza.
Okay. Now, if I ask you about your own concerns, Mr. Diliani, okay, as you follow and observe things closely, what do you think the biggest obstacle to this ceasefire?
Most definitely one word: Netanyahu. It is Benjamin Netanyahu and his genocidal coalition that has their interests, political interests and personal interests, with the extension, as long as possible, of the genocide. These are warmongers that have built their political legacy on the blood of the Palestinian children. That's why the only way they see survival, especially with all the statistics and the polls showing now in the Israeli media, it shows that this coalition, some of the parties will not make it into next year or next term's Knesset. So that's why I believe that the only obstacle, because of their interest, the only obstacle, the biggest obstacle for the ceasefire and continuation of the ceasefire is the genocidal government of the State of Israel.
Okay. If I come back to the U.S. administration position, Mr. Diliani, okay, and as you said earlier in your introductory remarks, that it's only a kind of election calculations that are making difference in the U.S. administration's commitment now, okay. But perhaps some others, okay, think that Donald Trump is really committed this time, okay, to make peace, and he has his envoys in the region. His vice president was there in the region yesterday, and today he is sending also the Secretary of the State, okay. My question is, away from election calculations, Mr. Diliani, don't you think that the U.S. now is really committed to this ceasefire?
Yes, absolutely. Donald Trump, as it appears, he insists on to have this ceasefire for as long as possible and to have stability in the region. And he needs to do that for election reasons. And we cannot discuss his motives without discussing the dynamics in the Republican Party and also the Democratic Party. But his concern is more with the MAGA movement and the Republican Party coming this midterm elections in 13 months. I believe that Donald Trump is one of the people, the few people in the world that does know how to analyze attitudes of the Republican Party. That's how he was able to get hold of control of it in such a record time. And this whole MAGA movement now is facing a shift away from pro-genocide, pro-Israel stance towards more balanced, more pro-Palestine, pro-actual life in Palestine. And with the continuation of the genocide in Gaza, it makes his position supporting the genocidal state of Israel, while there's a shift happening in his grassroots bases, makes it harder for him to achieve the best for his party in the next midterm elections, especially at the time that the Democratic Party has already pretty much made up its positions, since over 70% of its members are anti-genocide, anti-Israel, or more towards pro-Palestine. So Donald Trump doesn't want to be at the helm of the party while this change is taking place and Israel is committing a genocide, because he saw what happened to Biden and he doesn't want it to happen to him. So that's why he insists on this ceasefire. That's why Netanyahu is basically bowing down for the first time, at least in public, in front of Donald Trump, because usually it's the other way around. But these are the actual reasons why Trump is really strong with his stance on this ceasefire and keeping the ceasefire and keeping this initiative moving forward.
Always within the U.S. efforts, Mr. Diliani, to make this peace happen. Now, when we hear Americans' envoys, okay, Kushner, Witkoff, etc., talking about reconstruction or rebuilding Gaza, okay, the reconstruction plan. The question is, can we really talk about meaningful construction plan when the ceasefire itself is still fragile?
You're absolutely right. I think speaking about rebuilding Gaza is something that has been going on even during the destruction of Gaza. But I believe that the priority should stay in keeping the ceasefire as a priority and leave the next day after the genocide for the when that time comes, because this plan, this Trump initiative, Trump plan, is made up of several steps. And I think it's way too early to start talking about rebuilding Gaza and the governing body of Gaza, while, as you said, we really do not know how much can the United States keep Netanyahu and his bloodthirsty government at bay. This is still up in the air, because we know that Netanyahu does have a political pull in Washington, D.C., and he can cause some damage to Donald Trump. So even though we know that Donald Trump is probably the most Zionist, probably close to Biden, as in his Zionist beliefs, or loyalty at least, if not beliefs, but his personal interest got in the way of that. And I believe that the state of Israel will continue to look for ways to get out of the ceasefire. That's why the world should be watching and keeping the pressure on them not to break the ceasefire.
Yeah, so looking or seeking ways to get out of this ceasefire. This brings us to the issue of the Israeli parliament giving a preliminary approval of annexing the entire Palestinian territories in the West Bank. The question is, Mr. Diliani, how is that development fits in this fragile ceasefire?
Yeah, there were two legislations that took place on that day. One has to do with an annexation of the West Bank, and the other one is for specific colonial settlement east of Jerusalem called Ma'ale Adumim, which basically cuts off the West Bank right from the middle, separates north and south, and practically makes the Palestinian state impossible. Now, the Likud party did not, the ruling party, the party of Netanyahu did not vote because of pressures of the United States. But I think it would be extremely naive to think that the vote on annexation is just a political scheme, as the government of the state of Israel tried to play it for political reasons on a domestic level. That would be too naive to understand, because we know that the genocidal state of Israel, at the end of the day, holds more value from ideological point of view to the West Bank than in Gaza. So, and we saw what they did in Gaza, which is less significant ideologically for Zionism than the West Bank. So this vote, which basically means the first step towards legalizing ethnic cleansing, ethnic cleansing has been going on, hasn't been legal in Israeli terms. Now it is basically on the way to be legalized, this ethnic cleansing through apartheid, and in a way to secure the Israeli colonial dominance over the Palestinian people. So the J.D. Vance today, on his way out of a visit, was very clear that of his dismay and the administration's disapproval of this.
Mark Rubio, you mean, or
no? J.D.
Even Vance, even Vance, because Rubio also made remarks before leaving,
Yes.
And he said this blocks the peace ceasefire.
Absolutely. I mean, the American position on this matter is extremely clear. And one more thing that President Trump also worries about if the ceasefire breaks and Israel commits a massacre, all those no kings riots and demonstrations, or whatever you want to call it, in the United States can and will, in a split second, shift into Free Palestine demonstrations. And this would be a nightmare for any administration, let alone Trump's, who is clearly complicit in the genocide. So this is an additional reason why Netanyahu not only wants the ceasefire, also rejects provocations, which he considers provocations. We take it more seriously, such as these laws, and specifically the one has to do with the annexation of the West Bank.
Okay. If we could turn to another issue, Mr. Diliani, but with the same context of developments in Gaza, is the ICJ ruling, which ordered Israel to allow aid into Gaza and said restrictions breached international obligations. The question is, how do you interpret the ruling of the ICJ amid this ceasefire?
Well, the ruling of the ICJ is very clear. It redefines and reassures that it views the state of Israel as a genocidal entity. And you might want to ask why. It's very simple. We all know that starving a population, putting them under siege, is an act of genocide in accordance to the Genocide Convention of 1948. So when the court, in its opinion, says that Israel must do this, it means that Israel must stop or break its siege or part of a siege, which means that they are at the present moment, they are committing a genocide. So this is, if you look deep into it, too, even though this is a non-binding opinion, but it does carry a lot of legal value in weight, and it establishes for a motion, a diplomatic action based on, of course, political reasons and ethical reasons. When you have something like the ICJ backing you with this, you can clearly raise your ethical reasons as well. So I believe that this opinion came out in the right time. I believe maybe it's not directly linked to the cessation of the genocide or the cessation of the military attack side of the genocide in Gaza. But after all, it comes with the in the same international direction, condemning Israeli genocidal war crimes against Palestinian people.
Okay. Now, talking about the day after, Mr. Diliani, we need to talk about it, but in terms of what the Palestinian Authority can contribute, so talks about a delegation of the Palestinian Authority reaching Cairo today, etc. The question is there a kind of consensus among Palestinian factions on how Gaza should be governed after the war?
The only thing that the consensus is that it should be run by the Palestinian people, and that we do not accept any sort of mandate over us. But that doesn't mean...
Even, Mr. Diliani, even Arab forces,
No. I'm saying in principle. But that doesn't mean, I was continuing. But that doesn't mean that there is a consensus among all factions that cooperation with the Arab states is essential. There is also direction towards reducing the politicization of the negotiations or talks regarding the next day. In other words, focusing on what actually matters, which is saving people's lives and trying to bring back life into Gaza city. So I think things are moving in that direction, and the factions are in Cairo today, and they've been there since yesterday. They've been talking, discussing many issues, and
Yeah.
I believe that the Egyptians are part of these talks. They are present
Yeah.
during these talks.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
these talks will end up with a public vision for
Yeah.
the next day that is based and rooted in the Palestinian national interest.
Yeah.
And of course, it most definitely, and there is no way around it, that it will have Arab countries element and also an international element in it.
Okay. Okay. A final point, if you may, Mr. Diliani. Okay. Now, recalling, the grievances of Gaza people, they say, behind every diplomatic handshake are people who may never return and communities that may never heal the same way again. My last question is, do you think people of Gaza will heal?
Well, the people of Gaza are part of the Palestinian people, and we are strong, resilient people. I think we are one of our kind in the world. Gaza will heal, Gaza will live, but Gaza at the same time will never forget.
Yeah. Okay. With this, we come to the end of this interview. Mr. Diliani, thank you so much for your time and insight, and thank you for talking to Yemen Today TV.
Thanks for having me.
That's all for this time. See you next week with a new edition of The Third Dimension.